Hello, how are we doing? We are back and it's a different setting, would you believe it? It's not the usual location. Is this the first time? Yeah, this is the first time. Not actually. I've done a few videos, I'm gonna say, not in the office slash spare room. Done a couple in the kitchen, but this is definitely the first one not in Dublin. So, as I alluded to, I'm away today and tomorrow for client sessions at Galway, and yeah, had the first one today. Overall, went very well. It was lovely to go through things in, we focused on one specific area and we went into it in quite a lot of detail. And as usual, I've alluded to this, I think it's important to give the people I work with time and space to share different things that maybe come up off the back of the key thing we're talking about. So overall, great session, clear plan, and feeling pretty good for that client in particular. I think he's in a really good place, and I'm excited to see how the next month, there's kind of a 5-week period now that'll take us up to the start of April. That's quite interesting for him. So that's that really. Travel this morning was all good. A little bit of work on the bus, but again, I learned from a video previous, I mentioned this, I just not putting too much pressure on myself to do lots of work while traveling, particularly on a bus. I got the key things I needed to done, and that entailed 2 emails, some prep notes, and then I did a bit of drafting of content for LinkedIn, and that's it. Watched a video and listened to a podcast. I suppose technically that's productive, right? It's a good combination of work and pleasure. So good journey, good session. Got a bit of food before as well. So that's it really. I then grabbed a coffee with someone after the session, which was nice. Again, tying into that theme of even on Monday, I had a lot of those conversations. I said, really interesting to just see what comes up for people, and that person was someone I know very well. So it was a case of catching up with them in a different sense, hearing how business is going for them, and it was good. So now I'm just going to do a quick bit of work and then go out for dinner with one of the clients I'm actually seeing tomorrow, which will be nice. It'll be an early night after that, which is good, and then up quite early tomorrow. So that's what I'm up to. This is like extravagance, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not, I alluded to this to someone recently where I was like, I think part of my, not frustration, I'm not going to get frustrated by this, but I just don't think there's much content out there of business owners actually doing this type of thing. Like, I could only show you days in the life where this is it. Like, I could take you out and about in Galway, I could take you to the client sessions, and maybe I will do that someday. I don't know. I don't really think I will. I don't think it's for me. But I've done 23 of these, 24, and this is the first one where I've really had a proper opportunity to do this video, not in my spare room. And that's very reflective of 2 things. 1, what it's actually like running the business, and 2, a fair reflection of time, in the sense that I'm not hanging around these places. When I'm done with the session, generally I'm going home. The reason I'm staying overnight in a hotel is that, I don't see the point in coming to Galway twice. It's much more efficient to do the sessions that I have for a month back to back if possible. And this month it was possible, so that's why I'm doing it. This is a privilege to be able to do this. Equally, I recognise that it's probably just, I actually thought about it on the way here, it probably helps me focus. It helps me focus on what I'm doing with the clients overall a bit more, because there's nothing else going on. Like, I don't have distractions. I don't have any other stuff that I need to do business-wise. The key thing is working with clients for the next 24 hours, and that's it. That's all that matters. So, BD takes a pause. I might send a few LinkedIn voice notes or whatever it is, or follow up with a few emails, but largely speaking, it's just about the clients, and that's brilliant. That's what they deserve. They deserve 100% of my time and attention when I'm working. here and when I'm on the move. And yeah, it just works quite nicely in that sense. So it saves, what, 6 to 8 extra hours of travel as well, which is nice. So it's 6 to 8 hours more time at home, which is good. And yeah, so that's the general thought process behind it. What else has come up? So I suppose from my perspective, the main thing that came up was I felt it was a good time to just touch base on really one thing that actually, did it come up in the session today? No, it didn't really, but it relates to something else that came up recently, which is I think one of the big challenges facing agency owners at the moment relates to people. And what I mean by that is it's very, very tough to get the right people in your business. And I don't think that's a new thing. I think it's become a bigger challenge, particularly in somewhere like Ireland, right? Where we have a scenario that is, you're not just competing. Like in Ireland, you're not just competing. If you're running an agency, you're not just competing with other agencies. In fact, quite often you're not really. You're competing in a lot of ways when it comes to hiring great talent with the biggest businesses in the country. And now, add in the extra layer of remote work being much more feasible, I'm seeing a lot of Irish people, and I know Irish people, who are living in Ireland but working for US businesses. So you're not only competing with big global corporate businesses based in Ireland, you're competing with big global agencies and corporate businesses based anywhere, particularly in the US. What does that mean for an agency? So for example, if an agency is paying, let's make up some figures, if an agency is paying an account manager, let's say €45,000, let's say that account manager has been doing really well, but they recognise that there might be an opportunity to earn a bit more or get more opportunities elsewhere. They might apply for a job with a US-based agency. What they will earn with that US-based agency is significantly higher than what they will get with the Irish-based agency. And that's just a simple fact. There's no way the Irish-based company can typically afford to pay what the US one might be able to. That alone is a challenge for agency owners. I think add in a couple of other things. Agency owners are experiencing a lot of question marks around the need to even be in a certain location. What's the value of being in somewhere one day a week? What's the value in being somewhere multiple days a week, multiple times a month? Especially whenever you have these US agencies that are happy to hire people based in Ireland and pay them exceptionally well and have no expectation they ever come to the US. So yeah, I honestly don't really have an answer for this, so to speak. It's just something that I'm seeing more and more. It's something that I suspect is going to keep coming up, and it's a really interesting one from a business perspective because it begs the question, okay, well, if for example, an Irish-based agency that's doing pretty good revenue for Ireland is struggling to get good talent because they can't afford people operating on a global scale, so to speak, what do? Do you hire people in a different location? Potentially. Do you change your business model? Do you look at how you're operating and how you're set up? Maybe. Do you just accept it and get on with it? Really is another thing. I'm not so sure. I think ultimately this is not something that's going to change. It's not something that's going to go away. I think the main point I should have said at the start of this is that getting the right people is hard, but it's so important. Your business can be transformed if you hire great people. And that's obviously going to remain the case. Like, you're going to need good people to help you grow a great business. So it's something that always comes up in conversations with owners. In the same breath, like, the people I'm working with hired some fantastic people recently. It's a similar process to that, we've used for a long time. I think even in the hiring process, though, I'd be interested to see how that evolves as a consequence of maybe how things have changed in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So what I mean by that is, I suppose I would say there's an opportunity. If I was a recruiter right now or working in recruitment, I would quite excited because I think there's a chance to really change the way in which businesses go about hiring. I think from an agency perspective alone, there's a big opportunity. What I mean by that? Well, skill-based hiring alone, I don't necessarily think is the be-all and end-all that maybe once was. I think there's a whole lot more to it. I know we speak about culture a lot, but really, do we hire properly with culture or fit in mind? Do we take the time to understand where people are at in their lives and where they want to be? Do we really take the time to ask ourselves who we need and who we want within this business? Do we take the time to properly understand from a business or a founder perspective which characters or individuals might have a greater impact on the company? I'm not so sure. I think quite often we end up in a similar situation to what we've always been in, which is here are 5 responsibilities, here are 5 skills, hire someone based on that. And it's not necessarily the most optimal way to go about things, I don't think. So yeah, there's just a lot to unpack in relation to people and hiring, particularly for agencies. I don't have any big solutions to this at the moment. I don't even know if it's technically a problem. I would tend to look at it as I do with most things. In that sense, it is an opportunity rather than a challenge. That said, the main thing I personally would be quite keen to avoid is that anyone I'm working with, just be mindful when you make a hire. Hiring is a huge responsibility. If you hire someone full time, that's a big commitment. And it goes both ways, right? It's a big commitment from the employee. It's a big commitment from the employer. I think at times when the revenue's increasing and profitability is great and business is flourishing, you can take that for granted. I think when times are tougher and maybe you go through a series of redundancies or the business has to downsize, you respect what it actually means to hire people more. And obviously that has happened a lot of businesses recently, particularly agencies. So I suppose my broad point on all this, it's a thought that's been lingering with me, and I don't even think I did it particularly well here in the last 5 or 10 minutes. I think there's a lot more to unpack on this front. And I think I really just kind of almost wanted to unload a few thoughts in my own head tonight, but it's tough. I don't take it lightly, the hiring and people side of things. As I said, I use that word responsibility. There are many things I feel like I personally could have done better in the past on this front. So I'm just very conscious that when I work with people who want to make a hire or want to build out their team, that we do it the best way possible. So yeah, maybe you can sense that it's something that's kind of eating into my mind a bit. And there is a lot, as I say, to talk about or think about or discuss or set up better than maybe has happened in the past in certain ways. So yeah, that's what's on my mind. That was very much a brain dump. Pre-dinner thoughts. Interesting. But really, that was the main thing on my list for today. Let me think what else. Do I have anything else of note here? Not particularly. General business wise, as I say, it's focused on clients. People and that side of things has been something that's, I feel like it's simmering, it's bubbling underneath the surface for me at the moment. So yeah, we'll see how this thought or train of thought evolves over the coming weeks. I might have more on it in due course, but yeah, I think that certainly helped get 1 or 2 things out of my own mind. I'm not sure if I'd be curious what I think I'll do next week. There's a couple of people I have in mind who I might reach out to in relation to this because they work at agencies that are a certain size. They're probably a bit bigger than the typical agency I start to work with. And I'd be curious to see how it's been going for them in the last 18 months in terms of hiring and compared to maybe what I've experienced or what I've seen. So yeah, that's an interesting one for me. Okay, that's it really. Today was a good day on the client front and tomorrow will be the same. I'm excited. It's going to be a long day, it's going to be a good day. And I think the next time you hear from me, it's actually going to be early tomorrow morning. I might do one before we get stuck in. That'll be interesting. I might share some thoughts about what's coming up. Actually, that could be a good one. All right, tomorrow morning I will be talking about what I have planned for the clients and why. Brilliant. I'm excited.